Hey guys, I am going to read Genesis. I keep saying Genesis. I was reading that book for so long, and I think my soul isn't over it. We're in Exodus. I'm going to read chapter 13 of Exodus, King James in the Message version, in a single video right now, starting with the King James version of Exodus chapter 13. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whosoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine. And Moses said unto the people, Remember this day in which ye came out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand the Lord brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. This day came ye out in the month Abib. And it shall be, when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey, that thou shalt keep this service in this month. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day shalt be a feast to the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with thee, neither shall there be leaven seen with thee in all thy quarters. And thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, This is done because of that which the Lord did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. And it shall be a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, that the Lord's law may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand hath the Lord brought thee out of Egypt. Thou shalt therefore keep ordinance in his season from year to year. And it shall be, when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, as he sware unto thee and to thy fathers, and shall give it thee, that thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beast thou hast, all the males shall be the Lord's. And every firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb. And if thou wilt not redeem it, then thou shalt speak his neck, and all the firstborn of man among thy children thou shalt redeem. And it shall be, when thy son asketh thee in the time to come, saying, What is this? That thou shalt say unto him, My strength of hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt, from the house of bondage. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that the Lord slew all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beasts. Therefore I sacrifice to the Lord all that openeth the matrix, being males. But all the firstborn of my children I redeem. And it shall be a token upon thine hand, and for frontlets between thine eyes. For by strength of hand the Lord brought us forth out of Egypt. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, Lest peradventure the people repent when they see war, and they return to Egypt. but God led the people about through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea. And the children of Israel went up, harnessed out of the land of Egypt. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had stately sworn the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones away hence with you. And they took their journey from Succoth and encamped in Etham, in the land of the wilderness. And the Lord went before them by day, a pillar in the cloud, to lead them by the way, and by night a pillar of fire, to give them light, to go by day and night. He took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of the fire by night from before the people. Going right into the message of Exodus chapter 13. Sorry, there was a little jump cut there. It's because I'm still sneezing. I'm still getting over that cold. When I say it hit me pretty hard a few weeks ago, it took a minute to break that fever, and there's just a little bit of it lingering. But enough about that. Please excuse the sniffling, all of that. Let's get into Exodus chapter 13, the message. God spoke to Moses, saying, Set apart every firstborn to me, the first one to come from the womb among the Israelites. Whether person or animal is mine. Moses said to the people, Always remember this day. This is the day when you come out of Egypt, from the house of slavery. God brought you out of here with a powerful hand. Don't eat any raised bread. You are leaving in the spring month of Abib. When God brings you into the land of the Canaanite, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Hivite, the Jebusite, which he promised to your fathers to give you, a land lavish with milk and honey, you are to observe this service during this month. You are to eat unraised bread for 7 days, and on the seventh day there is a festival celebration to God. Only unraised bread is eaten for 7 days. There is not to be a trace of anything fermented, no yeast anywhere. Tell your child on that day, this is because God did deliver me when I came out of Egypt. The day of observance will be like a sign in your hand, a memorial between your eyes, and the teaching of God in your mouth. It is with a powerful hand that God brought you out of Egypt. Follow these instructions at the set time, year after year after year. When God brings you into the land of the Canaanites, as he promised you and your fathers, and turns it over to you, you are to set aside the first birth out of every womb to God. Every first birth of your livestock belongs to God. You can redeem every first birth of a donkey if you want by substituting a lamb. If you decide not to redeem it, you must break its neck. Redeem every firstborn child among your sons. When the time comes and your son asks you, what does this mean? You tell him, God brought us out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery with a powerful hand. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, God killed every firstborn in Egypt, the firstborn of both humans and animals. That's why I make a sacrifice for every first male birth from the womb to God and redeem every firstborn son. The observance functions like a sign on your hands or a symbol on the middle of your forehead. God brought us out of Egypt with a powerful hand. It so happened that after Pharaoh released the people, God didn't lead them by the road through the land of the Philistines, which was the shortest road, for God thought, if the people encounter war, they'll change their minds and go back to Egypt. So God led the people in the wilderness road, looping around to the Red Sea, and the Israelites left Egypt in military formation. Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for Joseph had made the Israelites solemnly swear to do it, saying, God will surely hold you accountable. So make sure you bring my bones from here with you. They moved from Succoth and then camped at Etham at the edge of the wilderness. God went ahead of them in a pillar of a cloud during the day to guide them on their way, and at night in a pillar of fire to give them light. Thus they could travel both day and night. The pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night never left the people. Okay, so a little commentary, of course. They're free, They're out of there. They're out of that terrible place, that terrible land, those terrible people that were doing terrible things for no reason. They're free. I can imagine how much relief they must feel. And not only are they free, but they have the Creator, okay? They have the Creator with them. Literally with them in a physical sense. He's in this cloud, and then he's this kind of a flame leading them day and night. I just imagine when I'm reading this, I imagine he came to get his wife, like he's engaged. He came to get his future wife. He delivered her out of this crazy place. He fought for her to get her out, and he's prepared this beautiful place of this land of milk and honey for her. He's going to take her and get married and go there. And he's just like the real man, he's just like a real man. He's guiding, and I'm talking about a true man. No offense to the guys out there that, and I'm not saying you need to be God, because nobody can be him. But I mean, he's just the best example of a supreme gentleman. He knows how to treat people. He knows how to treat a lady, for sure. His quote-unquote wife, in this instance. And so I just love the fact that he's leading his wife, He's leading her. He's engaged, and he's leading her. He just rescued her, and he's got all these promises that will be true. He's just strong, and he's got all these great intents, and he's going to see it through. He's going to make it actually happen. He's not making these empty promises or, leading this person into another abusive situation. It even says at the end that, despite the fact that he'd promised this land, where, there's this milk and honey and all this, he kind of took a little detour, went through the wilderness. It says in verse 17, and it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go that God led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near, for God said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war and they return to Egypt. So he's just really looking out for them. It might take a little longer. It's just this little detour or whatever. It's not a big deal. But he's really thinking ahead that, I don't want them to be scared. They just came out of this crazy abusive situation and environment. And now I'm trying to show them that that's done. That's over. I'm here now. And so he's even taking the precaution on the journey, not just leading them, literally, but he's keeping them out of the way of things that might discourage them or think that maybe they made the wrong choice and things. It's just, he's a real gentleman, I just love this. It's just very sweet. This is very, very sweet. I noticed that there's a lot of that's going on about the Passover is still talked about here, commemorating it with the unleavened bread and the firstborns being, especially firstborn males of animals and people, being very sacred. And this is all to do with Jesus Christ, of course. This is just all connected to him. And that it's just kind of this thing that goes on for 7 days, 7 being, one of those numbers, those sacred numbers. Passover. And I'm looking in here and it's like, they're even talking again about reminding the children, for years and years and years, forever, pretty much as long as the earth exists in this form. We're going to talk about this. We're going to pass it on to our kids. And for me personally, it just depends on what you believe when you're reading this, how you interpret this. But for me, it's like there's so many traditions that have been lost for some Israelites, we'll say. But the thing about telling your kids about what God has done, not specifically this thing, I notice there's a particular type of people that, and you could pick several, I guess, but there's a particular type of people who always talk about God, no matter what. Even if, they could be the most hated people in the world, for real, and the most destitute and looked down upon or whatever, they are always talking about God because God is just up in their lives. I'll leave it up to you to really think about who those people are. Through some of the worst, terrible times ever, even times now that things still aren't good for these particular people, they're always talking about God. Like it's just kind of like a natural thing in your life. You don't necessarily get introduced to God like later on in life. That's kind of rare for these people. You always, and that includes Jesus too, these people are always talking about him, always teaching the children about him in some way, even if it's not even done properly. It's still introduced and instilled from a very young age, if not from birth. It's just like a natural part of life, like eating and drinking and everything. I'm going to stop there, though. That's what this reminds me of is, tell the children about God or tell the children about being delivered out of Egypt and all of that. It's like the version that I'm thinking of these people today, they still do that. And it's not how you think. It's like eating and drinking. It's like talking about like God, like it's air, like he's just, he is. He is what he is. I am what I am. I am that I am. He is that he is. And he is definitely just a part of the culture, a part of life for these people. I'm going to leave it there, okay? That's just what it makes me think of. And I don't mean to say these things the reason I keep it really vague is because I don't want to preach to people. I'm not a preacher. I'm just telling you how I interpret it. And, maybe you interpret it differently, and that's okay. At least we're reading the Word of God and trying to interpret it, trying to understand it. So, that's pretty much what I got out of this book. This chapter 13 of Exodus is... Oh, one other thing. The Matrix, okay? I just hear this all the time, and every time I hear this, it always makes me think of that movie, with Neo and stuff, and that's a whole story of itself if you really, really look at the original version of it, not the second or third part. I'm a writer, so when I watch certain types of films, or I used to, I don't really watch too many movies and stuff nowadays, but when I used to watch movies, it was like I could easily tell, even as a kid, that, whatever they turn into a sequel or, a multi-franchise or whatever, a lot of times it wasn't originally meant to be that. It was just this one movie or story or whatever, and it did so well that, Hollywood wants to make more money. Which is ridiculous, Sometimes, it's not about money. Nothing is really about money except maybe using it to survive and help other people survive and be blessed. It's not really about getting as much as you can and spending it all on yourself and, robbing people, or whatever, just getting it by any means, But, or accumulating a lot of it, like billionaires and trillionaires and millionaires do when there's people starving, families that can't eat and you just got this $1 billion or whatever to yourself. I don't know. Stuff like that is just crazy. But those are kind of how franchises are born. People thinking with that mindset to make more money. It's no longer necessarily about entertaining people or telling an interesting story. So I say all that to say that the original Matrix, the first movie, you can tell if you're really paying attention, especially if you're a writer, a storyteller, you can tell that that movie was meant to be just that movie. And whatever those other two, and then there was like a fourth one or something I think they made a couple of years ago, it just got lamer as they made more stories because it was made for money, for profit. It had nothing to do with telling a story of substance. So the original story of the Matrix, which is really what I'm focusing on right now, reminds me of things like this in this Bible. There's a reason why the word matrix is used. And there's a reason why the word matrix, I'm trying to find the verse 12. There's a reason why the word matrix is, I'm trying to see if it says it in the scriptures. It doesn't. In the scriptures it says that you shall give over, and this is verse 12, you shall give over to Yah, or Yahweh, every one opening the womb. And every firstborn that comes from your livestock, the males belong to Yah, or Yahweh. It doesn't say matrix, it says of the womb. But in the King James Version it does say matrix, and I'm just going to talk about that for a second, because it is talking about the womb, right? I mean, literally, that's what the matrix is. It's a portal from a woman's body. It's the mysterious thing about life, of how we all come here. We all come from a man and a woman getting together in some form or another, creating our shells, our bodies, to bring us here in this life. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You need a man and a woman to do that. Every single one of us has come here because of that, and only that, okay? I don't care. You can argue by yourself. That's what it is. I didn't make the rules. I didn't make this up. I didn't do this design. This is just what we all know to be true. And I don't know why it's a big deal either. It's just the reality. So a man and a woman come together and make a child, and the child grows into the woman, develops into the woman's womb. Like everything about the child, the brain, the chromosomes, the DNA, the fingers and toes, the limbs, everything, how we come out the way that we are. It's all knitted together inside of a woman's womb, inside of a woman's body, her womb. And when it's time for the child to be born, God willing, the child is delivered out of that woman's womb into this world, which is, it's like a matrix, right? That's how we all came to be here. We came out of a woman's womb. We came out of that because some guy planted his seed, and then it grew inside this woman, developed inside this woman. Every single one of us we all got here by the same situation, and then we came out of this woman's womb into this life that we know now, that has so many questions, right? And we don't get to stay here either. We die, after whatever amount of years God will give us. Not many, If you're lucky, I always say you get around 80 if you're lucky. And a lot of people aren't that fortunate. A lot of people end up leaving here as soon as they get here, or a couple decades in, Today could be your last day. You never know when your time is up. It's whenever God wants it to be. And that's another thing. We take that for granted, always thinking that we're going to be here the next day and whatnot. That's not a guarantee at all. But back to that matrix. We all come into this place via that situation of the woman in her womb. Starting with a man and a woman getting together. So it kind of makes you think, because there's like a confusion to this. Like there's such a big question to this. Only God truly knows the answer. But the fact that there is people just almost as if they're appearing out of nowhere. I mean, they're coming through a woman, from a man and woman getting together. They're coming through this woman. But if you really think about it, really sit and think about it, it's such a mystery. It's such a bizarre, mysterious phenomenon, human life and coming to life, even though it is through this woman. But it's like a soul, like your womb is not even making the soul. God is putting that part in. It's like the last part. that he includes. But I don't know. Just everything about that is very mysterious. And the fact that they call it a matrix, it's coming through this matrix, it just lets you know that this is not true reality. That's why it doesn't last forever. That's why it's this temporary thing. It's a test. It's a simulation and a test. And so many people take this so seriously. They take it so seriously that they're just... and I've been there. I've been one of these people, where you're just trying to get things, or, even trying to numb yourself, or just living in the ways of the world that the world says is normal, just as a distraction to keep you from really searching for what's real in life, what's true about why we're here. It's more about like, let me hang out with my friends, let me go to work, let me make money, it's Friday night, let's go and do this thing. It's like, okay, I mean, sure, those are fine, but there's so much more to life than things like that. And I don't know, just me personally, the fact that the Matrix is mentioned here, because I mean, this is where this is kind of coming from. This is where this word is originating. It's from this type of scenario of us being born into this world. Temporarily, mind you. It's like a clear sign to me that this is a simulation, guys. To me. I mean, I could go deeper into it, and it's going to probably mention it again. I also want to mention, I can't remember her name, or if this is even true, but because there's some sketchy things about her. But there's a woman who claims to have written The Matrix and The Terminator. I don't know how I'm getting to this point. I forgot her name, like Sophia Stewart or something like that. Don't know if any of this is true, okay? But she's got some interesting points, right? If you really listen to some of the interviews where no one's interrupting her and she doesn't seem kind of out of it or something. Because sometimes she's just, I don't mean to like say those things about her, but she just seems kind of full of herself a little bit. I'm prodigy and I'm this. Like, none of us are really anything special, like in terms of being this greatness. There's only one that is truly good and great and awesome, and it's not us human beings. So I say all that to say she's claiming that she wrote The Matrix and The Terminator, and it was originally this. It was originally The Terminator, and then the next part was The Matrix, and it was originally this whole story. John Connor being Jesus Christ, or, Neo 1, that's all this. It was a symbolism for all that, and he was supposed to be black, and if you look it up, Will Smith was supposed to play him, but I think she wanted Muhammad Ali, something of a Muhammad Ali type of energy, like Neo and all that stuff was supposed to be black people. And I don't know how true any of this is, but if you listen to some of the things that she says about what the Matrix is, and she does talk about it in this biblical sense of it being of the womb, us coming to life into this simulation through a woman. Sometimes she actually has some really legit interesting philosophy there through her storytelling. I don't know how real any of it is. I would recommend you check it out just, for... maybe for fun or whatever. Don't get too wrapped up in things like this because it really doesn't matter. But it just... and the fact that the Matrix itself is... I'm all over the place today. But the fact that the Matrix movie itself is a movie about being in a simulation. About being in something that isn't real, or a test. A temporary test. So that's pretty much all you really need to know when it comes to this Exodus chapter 13 verse 12, I think, in the King James Version. It's really just talking about that. If you really want to know the truth, you can look it up. It doesn't mean just because you know that you're in a simulation that it's like, oh, because it's like the fear mongering and all that stuff happens. It's like not really meant to be any of that. I'm saying these things just as food for thought, Because, I mean, I do know that I'm in a simulation. I do know that I'm in a test. And it definitely makes this picture of life much more focused, where I can just kind of see things for what it is and not really react as much. I still do because I'm human at times. But most of the time I don't really react so much anymore. I just respond and observe, and it's just not really a big deal to me. Even the things that seemingly are just bizarre. I mean, Ow. Anyway, I'm not going to keep talking. It's been like 30 minutes. I've been going on for who knows how long with this Matrix thing, but that just really food for thought, guys. Just really look into that more, okay? If you're interested, look into what that is and the mystery of coming out of a woman's womb. Just look into that, you know. It's how every single human being has gotten here. Every single human being came because a man and a woman got together, and then that seed grew inside the woman's womb and came through her matrix, came through the matrix into this life that we know now. No human being came from some other situation ever, and never will. Because it's God that chooses that. It's God that designed that. It's him that chooses for you to be here, and that is the way that he has set it up. And there's a mystery behind that. It's a phenomenon. It's intriguing, really. Like, there's so many questions about how that's even possible. If you really think about it. Yeah, there's a science behind it. But when you really think about it, it's so mysterious. That's so mysterious that human life and each and every one of us came to be here in this fashion. Am I the only one that thinks that? I know I'm not. I cannot be. It says it right here in this Bible. It's obviously a mystery and a phenomenon here too. So anyway, I hope you guys have a blessed day. And yeah, I'm just going to let you guys go now. We're going to read chapter 14 tomorrow, I suppose, and whatever intrigued you about this, because those are the things that stood out to me. It doesn't mean that's what this whole chapter was about. If whatever stood out to you, I'd love to hear about it. You leave a comment if you want. But we'll move on to chapter 14 and see what God does next. Israelites are in the wilderness now, being led by the cloud and the pillar of fire, and God's watching over them and protecting them and telling them to remember this over and over, because, you know, we're humans. We be human, and we need to constantly be reminded. Always. So let's just see what he does next, you know, and what the Israelites do in this new phase of their life of freedom and liberation from oppression, from abuse, from hateful people with hard hearts for no reason. They don't have to deal with that anymore. So let's just see what happens next in their journey as a people. Anyway, I hope you guys have a blessed day, and I love you guys, and see you in chapter 14. Bye.